All right, it is just after 7, so we are going to get started. You might be seeing my notifications pop up. That's interesting. I haven't had that happen before. Okay, good evening. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. I am excited to spend the next little bit of time with you. This is session number 2 of our September Seesaw PD Social. And we will go ahead and get started. My name is Mckenzie Fuller. I know there are a couple new faces, at least one tonight. So just as a bit of an introduction, I work for the Ontario School District during the day. I'm a technology coach for kindergarten through 12th grade. And this is my second year in that position. Last year I took a new job. I stepped out of the classroom. I was teaching 2nd grade before, became a technology coach, and then in March the world went crazy and we realized we really do need a technology coach. And so it's been a huge learning journey through the spring and then this summer, and now moving into our districts in comprehensive distance learning this fall. And so learning how to leverage technology in new and exciting ways, but also in a lot of challenging ways. So that's a little bit about me and who I am. Our September PD socials are hosted by the Eastern Oregon Wren, and really this time is meant to be a time for virtual PD, but also a networking opportunity that's available to you. So this is available to educators from our region from, I believe, 5 different counties, and we'll meet every Tuesday during the month of September. And we have two main goals of these sessions. So the first is that you'll learn strategies for effectively engaging students and families in Seesaw. And the second is that you'll be able to collaborate virtually with other educators using Seesaw to share some ideas and successes and resources. And so as you can see, Seesaw is the tool of choice, and we'll get pretty familiar with this platform, but really the idea is that we get a chance to spend time together and to learn together. So just know that I appreciate your time. I'm excited to get to meet you and to collaborate with you during the month of September. A couple of logistics that are important to know. Our session will run from 7 to 8:30 this evening. If you need to step away at some point, that's totally fine. I understand you have families and other responsibilities at home, but just know that we will be done by 8:30. I have lots of slides that are available to you. If you would like a copy of this slide deck, you can visit bit.ly/Seesaw Social 2. If you missed last week's and want to look at the slides, it's Seesaw Social number 1. But this will bring you to a read-only copy of the slide deck, and you can take that, make a copy, and use it however fits your purposes. If you want to take some of the things back and share with students or with colleagues, be my guest. One recommendation that I do have for you is to use 2 devices if you have them accessible. That will let you try some things in Seesaw on one device and then engage in our conversations and in this presentation together on the other device. If you don't have 2 devices, it's totally okay. We can jump back and forth between tabs and I'll talk you through that. Just know that if you have something else available, you may find it helpful. So we are going to look tonight at both the teacher and the student platforms. Last week, we focused primarily on the student platform. You worked out of the student side, and then I projected the teacher side for you. Tonight, we're going to look a lot more closely at the teacher platform. You'll get to see my screen and what it looks like as I kind of navigate being a teacher in our mock classroom, but you'll also get a chance to kind of take a tour of the teacher platform and really learn how to build activities and how to navigate this side of Seesaw. So lastly, I just encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to network. We have teachers represented here from several different counties, but some pretty consistent grade levels. And so if you happen to notice that somebody else might teach the same grade level as you or close to the same grade level or have a similar position, and you want to shoot them a message and ask a question or follow up with them on something that they said, by all means, please feel free to do so. This is a great opportunity to get to meet people virtually since we can't do conferences and PD and trainings in person right now. All right. So last week I shared this quote with you, and this is a line from the Introduction to the Distance Learning Playbook. This idea that we don't want to be talked at, but we want to learn with. This idea that we don't learn in isolation, but as part of a community. And that's part of why we're here together. but that's also something that needs to transfer to our schools and to our classrooms, right? Our students don't need to learn in isolation all by themselves. They need to learn as part of a community and as part of a class. And that's one of the big challenges that we face during distance learning, during hybrid learning. Just this idea that the community is harder to build. Now, that being said, I know we have some representatives here who are getting a chance to meet with students in person right now. And so for you, you're going to come at this with a little bit different of a lens, right? You have some of those traditional opportunities available to you, but my hope is that you can take these ideas and transfer them to the traditional classroom as well, because this is a tool that can be leveraged pretty powerfully in person as well as online. So last week we focused on this idea of community building. And how we might build community amongst our students using some tools in Seesaw. And so we did 5 activities. We moved through them pretty quickly. The first was an all about me poster, right? We know the traditional version of this in the classroom. Students are drawing pictures of themselves. They're talking about hobbies and favorites and their families, that sort of thing. And so we took that idea and moved it to Seesaw and showed how students can represent information about themselves using the creative tools there. We also did a 1-minute talk. Seesaw has a feature that allows students to record video. And so you got to be the experts on a topic of your choice, just like you might do in your classroom. You got a chance to share for a minute, and then those videos were published within our class, and you got to watch each other's just a little bit. We did something called Teamwork Tales, where one person starts a story, and then the next person continues it with a sentence, and then it gets continued with another sentence from a new person, and so on and so forth. Again, this idea of building community through teamwork. We did alpha autobiography. So this was really short and right at the end, just talking about aspects of our life that correspond with the letters in the alphabet. And then this, not in the correct order, but I did want to list this last. We played a game called 2 Truths and a Lie. With 2 Truths and a Lie, you share 3 statements about yourself. 2 of them are true, 1 of them is a lie. I love this game in real life, but I also really enjoy it virtually. And you wouldn't know, because the example that I shared with you was pretty lame. This was what I came up with on the spot, but I said, I have a puppy named Belle, I have a husband who is a nurse, and I have an older brother named Blake. And so this was what was posted. And your job was to try and decide whether statement number 1, number 2, or number 3 were lies. And so while mine is kind of lame, yours were fascinating. It was so fun to read through these, and I caught myself realizing, like, I didn't ever give the creator the opportunity to say which ones were true and which ones were lies. And so I thought we'd open up our session tonight just with a chance to kind of get to know each other a little bit more, and also to share about the information from this game last week. And so if you were not here last week, never fear, you get a chance to play too. If you've got a scratch piece of paper, it might be helpful to jot down your 3 statements, but just while other people are sharing first, go ahead and think of 3 statements you can share. 2 of them should be true, 1 of them should be a lie, and we'll get started. So I'll demonstrate this first. Like I said, I do want to use this as a chance to get to know each other a little bit more. So I will ask you to kind of introduce yourself a bit again. You can share your name, where you work, your position, that sort of thing, whatever you want to share, and then we'll go through our 3 statements. So again, my name is Mckenzie Fuller. I'm the technology coach for the Ontario School District. I live in Ontario in Eastern Oregon. And my 3 statements were that I have a puppy named Belle, I have a husband who is a nurse, and I have an older brother named Blake. And so to cast your vote, what I'd like you to do is put the number in the chat that you think might be the lie. Again, go ahead and see if you can guess the lie and put the number within the chat. You guys are pretty good at this. You are correct. Number 3 is the lie. My brother Blake is actually younger than me by 2 years, but my husband is a nurse. He works in the emergency room at St. Al's in Ontario. And we bought a puppy during the quarantine of spring of 2020, thinking it would be a great idea because we had lots of time to focus on taking care of her. And it's been great, but I don't think I will ever buy a puppy unless we are in quarantine and have a stay-at-home order again, because it's a lot of work. All right, next up on the list, we'll see if we've got everybody here tonight. So Janine, I've got you next on the list. Do you mind, first of all, unmuting yourself and just introducing yourself, telling us who you are, where you work, that sort of thing.
Okay, Janine Carter. I teach second grade at Alameda School in Ontario. And let's see, those of you know me might know this one, might not. Okay, I graduated from Ontario High School. What?
Oh, go ahead. Did somebody else say something? I think we're good. Go ahead.
Okay, I graduated from Ontario High School. I graduated from Treasure Valley Community College, or I graduated from Eastern Oregon State College.
All right, so go ahead and put your vote in the chat. All right, Janine.
Okay, looks like I'm fooling a few people. I did not graduate from Ontario High School. I graduated from Weiser High School.
Okay. And I should have known that because I knew you were from Weiser. Janine and I used to teach second grade together.
Yeah, but I thought I caught some people because I put Eastern Oregon State College. When I graduated, it was State College. It was not university yet. So I thought maybe I caught some people on that one. Tricky.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Do we have Melissa? Melissa, do you mind introducing yourself? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. I'm Melissa Hayworth. I work third grade at North Lake School. And my three choices were I have 11 kids in my class, I have an identical twin sister, and I have a pet frog.
All right, go ahead and cast your vote. All right, Melissa, which one is it?
The lie is I have a pet frog.
Okay.
I don't have a pet frog. I hate frogs.
Okay. Do you have any other interesting pets?
No, just 3 fish, a cat, and a dog.
Okay. Very nice.
And a kid.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right, Andrea, would you be willing to introduce yourself and share yours?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea DeWitt. I work at Nissa High School. I teach in the CTE Department for Health Professions, and I'm the school district nurse.
Thank you. All right, go ahead and tell us your 2 truths and a lie.
So I was engaged to my husband after knowing him for 5 days. I started working at a casino at 16 years old, and I have 2 sons. The oldest is a junior at U of I, and the youngest is a senior in high school.
All right, go ahead and put your votes in the chat. I'm super curious.
So mine is actually number 3. I actually have 2 daughters, not 2 sons.
Okay.
The rest of it's true.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, I don't think we have Brian here tonight. Dottie, are you able to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Dottie Brown. I work for the Malheur ESD, and I am a English learner specialist. And my 2 truths and a lie are I vacationed in Spain, vacationed in Peru, and I vacationed in China.
All right. No matter what, I am super impressed right now. All All right, do you want to tell us?
Well, the lie is I vacationed in Spain. I was like 2 months away from going, but my friend, her mother had some health issues, and so we had to cancel it. So it's in the making, but no, I did not vacation in Spain yet.
Okay. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. All right. Kelly, are you able to introduce yourself?
You betcha.
Awesome, thank you.
So I'm Kelly Grindle, and I teach at Aiken first grade. And what else did you want to know?
Do you want to tell us your two truths and a lie?
Sure. I have 2 cats and a dog. I teach at Aiken. Oh, I gave away one of them. And I have a child. I have 1 child, sorry.
All right, Kelly, do you want to tell us which one it is?
I actually have 4 children, not 1.
Okay, very nice. Okay, Melody, you are up.
Okay, I just got the position at the ESD. I am the Ed Tech and STEM specialist there starting tomorrow. And my 3 are, I have a hound dog that sleeps more than a cat. I have a tattoo of a butterfly on my ankle. I can shoot, run farm equipment, and be my own handyman.
Oh my goodness. I like these. All right, which one is it?
I don't have a tattoo.
Okay. I think a lot of people got that one. That was impressive. Okay, I don't think I saw Trisha come in. Okay, so people that weren't here last week, we're playing 2 truths and a lie. And so if you're willing to start out first by introducing yourself to us, that would be awesome. And then if you've thought of 2 truths and a lie, we can just kind of guess without having them displayed on the screen. So maybe Amy, if we start with you, and then Chelsea, if you jump in after Amy. Oh, Amy, you're muted.
I was telling my husband to be quiet.
Okay.
So I'm Amy Fortune. I grew up in Lakeview. I left for 22 years and I got to return back home to my hometown once I finally got married. My 2 truths and a lie. I have 60 chickens. I have 2 daughters. One of the people in this session taught my oldest daughter.
Ooh. Okay, so go ahead and type the number of your guess in the chat. Okay.
Is that everybody? So I actually have 69 chickens. It is so disturbing. I'm addicted. You guys, it's bad. And Kelly Grindle was my daughter's kindergarten teacher when she lived in Lakeview.
That's awesome.
Hi,
That is so neat. Okay. Sorry, Chelsea, I know we're putting you on the spot because you just got here. Would you like to jump in and do 2 truths?
Yeah, you're good. I was having problems because I didn't get the link, so I'm sorry. My name is Chelsea Devon, and am I supposed to tell my grade and my
Yeah, if you don't mind.
5th grade, and I teach in the Ontario School District at the Alameda Elementary. My 2 truths and a lie.
Yep.
So 1, I have 2 sons. I played volleyball at TVCC, and I have 5 fish.
All right, go ahead and put your guess in the chat. Chelsea, I think your fish population is seriously doubted.
I'm a really bad liar too, like horrible. So sorry. And yeah, I don't have any fish, so.
Very nice. Well, thank you for jumping in to do that. And Grace, thank you so much for being willing to play along. I honestly, I just love getting the chance to get to know people more. And this was very much me being curious as I was going through your responses, going, I can't believe we didn't pause long enough to find out who had what truths and what lies. And so I'm glad that we had the chance to come back and do that tonight. Thanks for humoring me. I really appreciate it. So last week when we met together, I ended with this question, and that was, during this non-traditional school year, whether you're in the classroom or teaching virtually, how might you use Seesaw to help build community in your classroom? And I gave you a challenge, and the challenge was during the next week to design some sort of a community building activity within Seesaw to share. There was a little bit of a bonus with that to try it with your students and share the experience with us this week. No pressure if you didn't do this, that's totally okay, but I do want to just open it up for discussion for a little bit and to take advantage of this community. Was anybody able to create a community building activity in Seesaw, and if so, how did it go?
I can share. I did one my first week, and I did all about me math, and I put it into Seesaw. And I just wanted them to play around with all the tools in Seesaw, like changing color, changing the fonts, adding pictures. I do feel like I thought they were just going to go in and play around with the assignment, but they just kind of went in and did it. So they didn't really like play around with all the tools. So I think next time I'm going to like require them, like, hey, you need to use the magic pen, highlight something. I think I'm going to have to give them more direction because they didn't, I just kind of assumed that they would do whatever, and they didn't do that. So, but it was pretty fun. I just had gotten something off Teachers Pay Teachers, and then I put it into Seesaw for my class, so I presented it that way. So it was pretty fun.
Awesome, thanks for sharing that. Any other experiences this week? So I know that the focus of this session is in Seesaw, but I'm going to open it up more broadly than Seesaw now. How are you building community within your classrooms? How are you getting to know your students? Go ahead, Janine.
Okay, what we did was on our teaching, we built everything into Google Slides. And so the second slide in our Google slide is a question for the kids, and it's a get to know you question. And they respond with little, we have little response cards that are color coded. So like, what's your favorite animal? If it's a cat, green, dog, blue, or whatever. So we've been asking them little get to know you questions each day.
That's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. Any other strategies?
I've been doing the would you rather, so kind of the same thing, like I have them bring one red thing and one blue thing, and then I ask questions like, would you rather fly a kite or go to the park? And then they, hold up the blue if you want, correspond it to which one. But that's been kind of fun to see, like, who, same thing, who likes to do what.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly.
I did the never have I ever, and that was fun. They had to raise their hand if they have done it. So I said, like, never have I ever left food under my bed or blamed something on my brother and sister. And so they kind of had fun with that. And then we've also been doing like little just icebreakers, and they've been begging me to play it. But on YouTube, there's like these Disney, like, guess what Disney movie it is. So a song pops up, and then they actually get to use the chat, which is pretty fun because I don't let them use the chat. So the first person that chats what Disney movie that song comes from gets a point. So it's just kind of fun to see their personalities through Zoom, because you can tell like who's really competitive, like who's like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom because it's during our break time or whatever. So that's been really fun too.
Those are great. Thank you. Any other things that you've tried or things that you're planning to try? All right. Well, thank you so much to those of you that shared. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. I can jump back and forth. And yeah, again, thank you very much. So as we kind of transition into the next part of tonight's session, I just wanted to start by sharing a little bit of my perspective. So going into this training, like I said, I work in Ontario, and our school is fully in comprehensive distance learning. Right now, we're not even bringing students back at this point for any in-class time, and so everything is virtual. And as far as we can see, like there's not an end date to that. Our county is still pretty high as far as the metrics go, and so it's going to take us a while to get our numbers down to what is required right now. And so we're looking at distance learning for a long time. And when I was asked to prepare this PD, I was coming at it from the perspective of somebody that's thinking fairly long term in the distance learning world. And I was also thinking from the lens of somebody who has relied pretty heavily on Seesaw for the last 6 months or so. When we shifted to distance learning in March, our district very quickly started looking at Google Classroom and then at Seesaw as two ways for teachers to push out content and to receive information from students. And so we did a lot of PD in the spring using Seesaw, and then over the summer I had the chance to offer some more PD for the ESD. And so again, coming to this PD this fall, because I knew that people had been trained and I knew that other districts were starting to look at this tool, I sort of made the assumption that during this training session, we would have people who were, one, fully in distance learning, and two, pretty comfortable using Seesaw. And so last week, I just want to apologize. I feel like I came at this with definitely my perspective weighing heavily on how we use that time. And so I definitely did not cater to those of you who are brand new to Seesaw. Or to those of you who are teaching in the classroom right now or teaching face-to-face. And so again, I apologize for that. We're going to try and kind of shift gears tonight and hopefully be able to give you a little bit more context and some more information that will be helpful for you and hopefully help you to feel more comfortable using this platform as well. With that, we're going to shift into the Seesaw for Teachers platform, and I'm going to give you a brief tour in just a minute of this platform. So for those of you who are very comfortable using Seesaw, because I know we have some of those too, please know that I welcome your perspective, and so does everybody else here. So if you have something to share or a tip or a trick to go along with what I say, please unmute and add your perspective to this conversation. But we'll spend the next like 15-20 minutes looking at the Seesaw for Teachers platform. Before we do that though, I just want to show you a quick video that is really just kind of an introduction to what Seesaw is through the lens of a couple of teachers and their students. And I don't know that I shared my audio with this, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing and then try this again and make sure I'm sharing my computer sound. There we go, this should come through. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. That would be awesome.
So Seesaw is a new program that we started this year. It's on the iPads. It really is, to the core, a communication device between parent, teacher, and student. What makes it such a neat program or app is that it's really student-driven.
Seesaw is a digital portfolio for kids. It's a safe and secure program that only your students and parents, if wanted, and other teachers can access.
Seesaw is basically a Facebook page, but kid-friendly. You can take pictures and post them, and you can comment, and it's for sharing what you've learned and sharing with your friends, and it's really fun. I like it. You only post learning stuff. Like this was for science, and we post it on Seesaw, and then our parents have Seesaw app, so after we do it, it will send it to our parents, and our parents can see what we learned for the day, like at science or reading or whatever, like writing.
One of my favorite things about Seesaw is that they get notifications when their child posts something, and that they could go in at any time during the day and listen to their child's voice and listen to what they are learning in the language that they are using in the classroom.
Watching them work and learn how to do new things that I didn't know the program could do, and how they respond to each other is really, really neat. So just watching them grow as learners through this program, I think has been my favorite part about it.
It's just a way to connect. I think that anytime that kids are engaged through technology and can connect or share their learning or know that someone else is watching and possibly commenting or enjoying, it makes it 100% more authentic, and the kids are then in turn a lot more engaged, and the quality sometimes comes out better then.
So Seesaw is at its core very similar to Google Classroom or another learning management system, in that teachers can push out content to students, they can push out activities and assignments, and students can respond. That information comes back to the teacher. The advantages that Seesaw has really kind of lie within their creative tools. And so as you can kind of see from the video, and then for those of you who came to our session last week, Seesaw gives teachers the ability to present information to students in video, using audio, using pictures, using hyperlinks to other places, and then using a drawing tool so they're able to annotate on the things that they're pushing out to students. And then on the flip side of that, the students can respond with all of those things. So again, students can take pictures, students can record video, they can draw, they can annotate, they can also type and that sort of thing, but it gives them some increased functionality that they don't have in other platforms. And so with comprehensive distance learning, this is a tool that can be extremely helpful because you get that face-to-face communication with students. It's more of an asynchronous platform, right? We're not broadcasting live lessons, but students can respond with video. They can respond to audio. They can draw. They can show their work and explain their thinking. And so this gives us a little bit more insight as we engage with students during distance learning. Now, the advantage to this in person is pretty similar. Students can again explain their thinking. They can take pictures, they can record their work, but the use shifts to more of a digital portfolio. And so students are tracking their own learning. They're recording, they're capturing artifacts that demonstrate their progress. And then the video kind of mentioned this, but again, especially for when your students are in person, parents can connect with those portfolios. And so parents can see what their kids are doing in real time. As a student posts maybe a video of themselves reading a passage, it posts to their portfolio. The parent gets a notification via the app, maybe on a cell phone or whatever device that they're using, and they get to hear their child read the same day that it happened, like right then and there. And so it becomes this really powerful communication tool between the teacher and the students and the families. Just for those of you that are wondering, because I know this question comes up a lot, what does this cost? And if I only have the free version, how limited am I? So I'm going to walk you through some of the differences between the different versions of Seesaw that you can have. So there's a Seesaw free version. You don't have to pay for it. There's Seesaw Plus, and so if you or your district decide to upgrade you for a year, it costs $120 a year. And then if your school or your district decides to purchase a full subscription, it does cost less than $120 per year per person, but you have to get a quote from Seesaw to find out exactly what that number looks like. With the free version of Seesaw, you have access to all of the creative tools. you're able to message back and forth with parents, similar to how you might with Class Dojo, right? You can send out mass announcements to families and then have one-on-one conversations back with them. With free Seesaw, you can have 2 teachers per class. And so if you maybe have a grade level teacher that you'd like to partner with, or maybe a grade band you'd like to partner with, or a specialist, you can do that. If you need more teachers connected to your class, you can purchase Seesaw Plus and get up to 5 teachers. And then with Seesaw for Schools, you can have up to 20 co-teachers. The need for the co-teachers really happens when you have that full buy-in at your school. And so if suddenly you have a PE teacher that needs to connect with your kids in your class, and a counselor and special ed and speech, that sort of thing, that's when that need for the extra co-teachers comes in. If you don't have that right now, like if you're a trailblazer for your district, then you'll be okay with 2 teachers, I think. Each teacher can have, with the free version of Seesaw, can have up to 10 active classes. As soon as you archive a class, it doesn't count against that 10. And so you just have to kind of manage your classes and make sure that you don't have more than 10 going at a time. With Seesaw Plus, you can have up to 25, and Seesaw for Schools, you can have up to 100. Again, one of the big advantages to having Seesaw for Schools is if you've got that full district buy-in and you're, say, a specialist, so a music teacher that's servicing 25 different classes or 30 different classes, that's where that comes in handy. Again, trailblazers, 10 is quite a bit to manage. There are some premium creative tools that you don't have access to with Seesaw. And so when you're creating activities in the free version, you have single page activities. You don't get the opportunity to create multi-page posts. And I can kind of show you what that means in just a minute. With the other 2 versions, you just have the option of making multi-page posts, and you can have up to 20 pages long in each of your posts. With the free version of Seesaw, you also don't get to save your work in progress as drafts, and so your students don't either. Your students have to complete an activity and turn it in. If they're not done, they still turn it in, and then they can go back and edit it later. But there's not really an in-between space, a draft space for them to leave their work in. You do have access to that, and your students have access with the other 2 paid versions. With the activity features, so with the free version of Seesaw, you get to have up to 100 activities within your library. It's quite a bit. If you find that too stifling, you can upgrade to Seesaw Plus and have up to 500, and then Seesaw for Schools is obviously unlimited. With Seesaw for free, it's not too difficult really to start to archive those activities or just to delete the ones that you're not using on a regular basis. The paid versions of Seesaw do have something called a school-wide activity library, so you can share among activities that you've created amongst your school. And then they also have the option of scheduled activity sharing, which is basically, I create an activity tonight, I assign it, and my students aren't going to see it until Friday morning when it goes live because I've scheduled it to launch that day. That's a paid feature, and you don't have access to it for free. So you can see the differences between the versions, but just know the free edition is definitely more than enough to get started. You can do a lot of really incredible things with the free version of Seesaw. So I'm going to skip over to the Seesaw teacher platform and walk you through this real quick. Okay. So this is the teacher platform that's connected with our Seesaw in September class. This is the PD class we started last week. This teacher platform looks really, really similar to the student platform. In the top left corner, I have my profile icon. That's just my name, and then it says how many classes I'm teaching. If I click on that icon, I can see all of my classes listed down here. And so I have 4 active right now. Similar to Google Classroom, if I want to navigate to another class, I just click on it and it takes me there automatically. So I'm going to go back to my Seesaw in September class. The default page when you open Seesaw is the journal, and this is essentially the portfolio page. And so when I come over here to my dashboard on the right side, I've got that journal icon highlighted. That's this book icon. Within the journal section, I have a class journal. So this is everybody's work all smashed together and arranged in the order that it's submitted. Below that, I have individual portfolios for each of my students. And so if I was conferencing with Amanda's parents and I wanted to show them her progress, I could click on Amanda's name, and now suddenly we're only looking at her work. but this lets me sort submissions by student. This is their individual portfolio. Now, we talked about this before, and we'll look at it again, but you can have a class journal that's public within your class so students can see each other's work, or you can turn that off and then all of student work stays private and you're the only one that sees it, and then their family members that are connected are the ones that see it. So that's the journal section. The activities tab is the assignments that you've given to students. So you can see there's a new assignment we'll look at a little bit later tonight. And then we have some assignments that were given last week. Again, these are listed just in the order that you share them with your students. So the oldest assignments at the bottom, the newest assignments are listed at the top. Depending on the age of your students, these will actually disappear as they complete them. So it's like checking it off their to-do list, and the activity tab only becomes the work that they haven't turned in yet. Within the activities section, I can choose to view work by activity. And so if I've got this all about me poster activity I've assigned to students, and I just want to see at a quick glance who's completed this and who hasn't, I can click on this little gray bar, and I see that I have 9 responses. I see thumbnails for every single student in my class. Those who haven't submitted a response for the assignment just have a gray box. Those who have, I actually see a thumbnail of their work. And so I can see exactly who has submitted this assignment. Now, if I want to take a closer look at somebody's submission, I just click on their thumbnail. It enlarges the thumbnail, and I can flip through and look at each of the pages in that person's post. I can also choose to like their post, and I can leave them comments. Now, the comments are public, right? If the work is public for everybody to see, everybody also gets to see the comments. So the receiving student sees it, so do their peers. So I can leave a comment for my students. If I click on comment, I can type it. I can also choose to record it. So this is really, really helpful, especially for our young learners and the ones who can't read yet and need that extra bit of scaffolding. But honestly, it's also really nice during distance learning because you get to hear voices, and that doesn't always happen. So as a teacher, I can leave comments that way. I can also leave private teacher comments. So these are notes to myself. Nobody else ever gets to see these. And then we're not going to get into skills and folders tonight, but those are some other things that you can do from the teacher platform. So that is the activities section. There's also an inbox section. So the inbox is divided into 2 sections. One is notifications. This is just telling me somebody has added an item, somebody has added a comment, that sort of thing. Notifications just like you would see on Facebook or Instagram, any kind of social media. There is a messages section though too. You can send announcements to students and their connected family members. If you send an announcement to your students, they can only receive it. They can't message you back. If you send an announcement to family members though, family members can message you back, and you get to have that line of communication with them. This can be really helpful. However, if you've got another platform you're using for this, by all means use the other platform. And again, this last section is the skills section. We're not going to get into that a ton tonight because it's a paid feature and you really can't access this without paying for it. So these are the 3 sections in Seesaw: the journal, the activities, and the inbox. If I want to assign an activity to my students, I'm going to click the plus sign up here, this plus and add button. Now, if I click on post student work, I'm posting something for my students to see like another student created. This is more of an example piece. If I send an announcement, right, it's pushing that message out to students. And so the only other option is assigning an activity. Not sure why they didn't just title this activity library, but it's assign activity. When it takes you to your activity library, you have 2 parts to your library. You have your own personal library, which is activities that you've created, and then activities from other people that you've saved. You also have access to a community library, and this is completely free. You're not going to see some things with price tags and other things without. But within the community library, you can access activities that other people have created, and you can share them with your students. And so if I want to share this week 1 of inspiration with my students, I'm going to click on this. I'll click assign, and then I can choose the class that gets to see it. I'm going to assign this to my practice class just so that it doesn't bog down our feed. But if we put this in our practice class and I say assign to this class, now my students can view this within their activity feed and it's ready to go. They can add responses right away. Now, if I have looked at the assignment from somebody else and I like it, but I want to make some changes, I can do that. If I click these little 3 dots here or in my activity library, I guess not, well, yeah, I can do it here. We can edit the activity. In the activity library, it's actually copying and editing it. But now I can take that activity and I can edit any of the instructions. I can re-record myself reading the directions. I can change the template. I can really modify any part of this assignment for my students. We're going to go ahead and discard my changes and jump back to our class. The last section that I want to run through with you really quickly is our settings section. So this wrench in the top right corner is the icon that we click to access any of the settings for our class. If I click on this, we're divided into lots of sections. The class settings pretty self-explanatory. I'll let you take a look through those. The big thing to know here is the students section. So you have a couple different options for students to sign in. They can sign in with a class code. This is most beneficial if they have their own device. However, if they're using shared devices, they can also use class codes, and this will kind of walk you through how that works. This also does offer integration with email and Google. And so if you are a Google school and your students have Google email addresses, you can pull your roster in from Google Classroom, and students would log in with their Google accounts. Also down in the students section, you can manage your students. This is looking at your class roster. You can also manage how students interact with posts. And so this section here, students can see each other's work. This is turned on. So anything that you submit within our class goes public to everybody else within our class. You can see each other's work right away. Now, if I wanted to keep that on, but I wanted to screen those posts first, I could say that new items require approval, and I could toggle this to on just by clicking it. If I toggle that to on and I require approval, Janine can submit a response to an assignment. I get a notification, and then I get to choose if I approve that for being published, or if maybe Janine needs to go back and make some changes, that sort of thing. So that lets you filter your students' submissions, provides you a little bit of a safety net, while also still letting them collaborate and learn from each other. You also have the option, if you've got these features turned on, to manage student likes and comments. And so you can enable student likes, give them the option of liking each other's work, or you can just turn it off. Same with comments. You can enable these, and if you do, you could also say that new comments require approval. And so if Chelsea comments on some of Janine's work, that comment comes to me first. I can say, oh, that was a really encouraging reply. Yes, I approve that. Janine gets to see it. Or I just delete it and then either have a conversation with Chelsea on the side, or we just delete it and move on. But again, giving students the chance to interact, but also providing a little bit of a filter in place there. So those are the key features within our student section. You can also turn on the ability to edit items after students submit them, and then you can enable the sample student. This lets you model things as the teacher without having to model from somebody else's account. You can choose to turn on family access. If you do, Seesaw walks you through the process of connecting your families to your Seesaw class. There is also a feature, and this is a free feature, to enable a class blog. And so if you want to turn this on and allow students to post their work to a blog that goes outside of their classroom, that option is here too. That can be really sheltered and password protected, so maybe only the teachers at your school see it, all the way to it could be a public one that people could do a Google search for and find online. So again, you get to manage the privacy settings there. The folders section lets you organize student work. And so if you have, especially elementary teachers, if you've got several different subjects represented within your class, you could create folders for each of those subjects. And so we just say create a folder, and maybe we do math, and that's our red folder. And then we create another folder, and that's our reading folder. As I push out assignments to students, if I tag, say, a math assignment with that math folder, all of my student submissions will just automatically be filed in that math folder. It helps me organize a little bit better from the teacher's side. And again, if I tag the assignment with the reading folder, all of the student submissions go into a reading folder. So it just gives me another way to look at student submissions.
Mckenzie,
Yeah, go for it.
can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so these folders that you're just talking about are different than like your folders of the activities that you create.
Right.
Okay, so these ones, just like if I had a student and I put it in the math folder, then instead of it coming into me as a notification, it would go into that folder, or?
It still comes into you as a notification. So the best example I can actually give to you of this is like a music teacher. If you have a music teacher in as a co-teacher and you don't want them to have to filter through all of your activities, they can tag all of their student submissions with music, and then the teacher isn't even going to touch your notifications. They're just going to click on their music folder and look at all of the submissions that are just music. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll have to play around with it. I didn't know that part. I thought there was only the folders for your activities. So.
Oh, got it. Okay, awesome. Skills, again, we're not really going to go into because it's a paid version, and then that really takes us to the end of the list. You can save student submissions to a camera roll and then change the video quality of the content you're pushing out and what you're receiving if the internet connection seems to be an issue. And then if you need to archive your class because you've created a practice class and you need it out of your count of 10, you can click the archive class button. So super large amount of information, especially for those of you who are new to Seesaw. So I apologize if this gets a little bit on the overwhelming side, but I did want you to have the chance to really get an idea of what this teacher platform looks like. And so before we shift to the next section, I just would like to open it up for questions. But also if you've got tips and tricks and you've been using Seesaw already, this is a great chance for you to share those as well. So questions, ideas, tips, and tricks.
Mckenzie, so when you click that they can share or see each other's work, can you pick and choose what they can see of each other's work, or is it just everything?
So you can say they can see each other's work and then you can require approval. Then you just have to go in and approve all of the submissions for that.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Kelly?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I can just share, I've been using it, last spring I used it, and then I used it over summer school, and now I'm using it again. And one big thing that I really like is I put like my comprehension and fluency reads on to Seesaw and make them record themselves reading that story, so then I know that they read the story, because it started last year before we were in like for the COVID thing and we had to do remote learning, but I had a lot of kids that would say they read it and they didn't. So then I really liked it because I knew that they were actually getting that out loud reading, and then I was able to hear them. So that's one way that I use it tons in my class, and we just practiced it today for the first time this year with my students. And then one other thing that I really like, I don't know if you can do it on the free version because I think you can only do one slide, but if you make a PowerPoint slide of however you want it, you can just insert the Google slide right into Seesaw, and it makes it really easy. And then I teach from Seesaw so that I can like draw and type and show my kids. So that's what I've been doing all year, and it's worked really easily for me. So
that's awesome, Chelsea. I hadn't even thought of using it that way. Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions or ideas, tips and tricks?
So I have another question. This is Kelly again. So if so I have more than one teacher obviously in my group, and she didn't make a folder. Can I make a folder for all her stuff to go into, or does she have to do that?
Yeah, you can do that. So if you make the folder, she's going to be able to see it. She just needs to, let me make sure I tell you this right. She just needs to make sure as she's posting activities that she starts to tag them with that folder, because I think as students are responding, if at the time of the response the folder wasn't tagged, the work doesn't go into the folder. So you can't go back and file as as a mass activity, you would end up having to go in and file individual papers. Does that kind of make sense, Kelly? Sorry, that was not a great explanation.
Yeah, I totally got it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so our last activity of the evening. Sorry, was there another question before I move on?
Mckenzie, did you saw that one in the chat?
I didn't, sorry.
Okay, Melissa had a question.
Oh, got it. Gathered all the activities into a folder, but then I lost them. It went into a collection. Oh, okay. So let me show you. So that's kind of connected to what Chelsea was asking about. So if I go to my activity library, the folders in the activity library are called collections, and they live at the bottom of the page. You get 2 collections if you're using the free version. And I think you get more with the paid version. I'm honestly not sure, but this is to help organize your activities. And so in theory, if your activities disappeared and went to a collection, this is where they're living, is somewhere down here toward the bottom of your page. And so like we had activities that we did for Summer Institute. If I click on that collection, then I'm just seeing the activities for that collection. All right. Okay, so I'm going to transition us back to our last topic of the night, and this is going to actually bridge to next week. So we're going to shift to this idea of accountable talk in the classroom and virtually. So accountable talk is student-centered conversation. It's among our students, not between our students and us, that contains accurate and relevant information, and it uses evidence to support reasoning. There's a lot there, but the keywords are in bold for you. It's accurate, it's relevant, and it's evidence-based. It's the idea that you're moving beyond questions and answers and into this rich discussion. And we know that accountable talk is super important in our classrooms, because when we look at the state standards, whether it's the Common Core or you're going to see some examples of the ELP standards, which are created based on the Common Core, our students have to participate in these exchanges of information with their peers. They have to construct claims, and they have to support them with reasoning and evidence. They have to listen to other people. They have to analyze and critique their arguments, and so much more. These are just a couple. But this can be a challenge to do, right? This was hard in the physical classroom. It gets even harder when we're in the virtual setting. It's really easy to push information out to our students, or push questions or comments, things like that, and then have them respond to us. It's a lot more difficult to facilitate those conversations between students, especially when we have a lot of kids and there's only one of us. And so we're going to take a look tonight at one way that we can use Seesaw to start to facilitate this accountable talk. We'll look at a couple other ways during our session again next week. But you're going to see a couple of common themes in each of the activities that we do together. The first is that they're standards based, and so we're moving students into that area of constructing claims and supporting with reasoning, and then listening to the arguments of others and responding to those. You'll also see that these are scaffolded. So we're going to start at a very basic level, and we're going to provide some support for our students. The support that you'll see tonight is the use of sentence frames and some very clear instructions. And then we're also going to provide students at the beginning, as we're bridging into this really high level task, we're going to provide them with a low risk environment. And so it's not something where a student has to be embarrassed to share, or nervous to share, or worried about being wrong. We're going to set this up so that everybody gets a chance to be right, and the risk is low, so the stress level is low. So to do the activity tonight that we're going to start with, that's going to shift us from community building and sort of surface level conversation into some more meaningful discussion, we're going to log into Seesaw as a student. Some of you have already been part of our class. So if you open up Seesaw and click I'm a student and sign in the same way you did last week, should be able to access our class. That said, I know some of you have not accessed our class yet, and so I will walk you through that. But the first couple steps are consistent no matter what you're doing. Go ahead and open a new tab or open a web browser. You can also do this from a phone if you'd like. You go to app.seesaw.me. You're going to tap I'm a student. Now, if you're in as a teacher right now, you do have to manually log out of your account. Last week when we did this, we clicked sign in with Google and we just used our Google email addresses. And then it's going to ask for a class code. Now, if it let you all the way into Seesaw, awesome. If it did not let you that far in, I'm going to move out of my directions real quick. Come back to our class. I'll show you our class code. So the instructions are here also. We'll choose I'm a student. And then when it asks for a code, the code is listed right here. So IPO VPO. IPO. I'll go ahead and put this in the chat for us. IPO VPO. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Mary Jane. IPO VPO. And then it will ask you to pick your name. Awesome. Hey, if you can give me a thumbs up once you're signed in, that would be awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Kelly.
Mckenzie, Melissa's wondering, how do you log out of your teacher account?
Great question. So in the top left corner, you've got your name. Go ahead and click your name. And then there's a little tiny gear icon. Go ahead and click that gear. I'll go ahead and show on my screen too. And then you'll click sign out at the bottom of that drop-down menu. Melissa, did that seem to work? Not yet. Okay. Mary Jane, do you mind if we enable participants to share their screens and we can troubleshoot real fast and get her in?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Melissa, do you want to go ahead and share your screen with me and we can walk you through it? If you can, and if you can't, that's okay. Okay, perfect. So go ahead and open Google Chrome. And then, yep, perfect. Go ahead and click on your class or your tab. And then go ahead and close out that window. Yep. And then in the top left corner where it says your name, go ahead and click on your name. Perfect. And see that little gear? Yep, right next to your name. Go ahead and click on that. It's just kind of goofy. And then go ahead and click sign out. There you go. Perfect. And then we'll go in as a student. And actually, I think you can just enter the code right there. So the IPO VPO. Go ahead and give that a try. I just clicked the add students button again and the code changed, so I may have to give you a new code. Okay, good. I'm glad that works. Awesome. Thank you. And then you can go ahead and stop share if you'd like. Actually, I think I can stop for you. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this. If you have two screens, Awesome. Just know that you're going to see some information come up from my slides. If not, I'm going to try and talk you through this so you can just look at your Seesaw platform. But I'll go ahead and share slides. Okay, so activity 1, if you are in Seesaw and you're only looking at Seesaw right now, you're going to click on the activity tab, which is the light bulb. And you'll see an activity listed there at the top. There's a picture and there's some instructions. But if you were to click on the picture and look at the picture, you would see some individuals in a boat. You might see some smoke, some fog. We're not really sure, but there's a question. And that question is, what might this be, or what might be happening in this picture? We're going to use for this first activity pictures to launch our students into discussions. And so your job really is going to be in the next few minutes to construct a claim and support it with reasoning and evidence. Your reasoning and evidence being things that you see in the pictures, details in front of you. There is no right or wrong answer, because the question is, what might this be? What could it be? Here is your job. You're going to look closely at the picture and the activity, and then think of a story as to what this might be. You'll click the add response button and then use the microphone to record your story. It doesn't have to be a long story. It can be very short, but you're going to tell us what you think this picture might be of. When you're finished, you'll click the check mark to submit your response. Again, really trying to lower our effective filters, really trying to make our students feel comfortable. There is no right or wrong answer here, but you are constructing a claim and you're supporting it with reasoning and evidence using the details that you see in the picture. So again, what might this be? So I'm going to go ahead and give, it is 8:09. We'll go ahead and take 6 minutes to respond to this prompt. So at 8:15, we'll come back together. Some of you might not have a microphone that works while you're in Zoom. So if you need to hop out of the call and then come back in just a minute, please feel free to do that. But you've got 6 minutes to respond to this activity. And I'll stick around. If you have questions, feel free to voice them.
I think it's a picture of a fire.
Hey, you're blocking my Google Classroom.
Mckenzie, are you seeing in the chat from Chelsea?
I'm not, sorry.
It looks like she's having trouble doing with the Zoom on because she's muted.
Okay.
Is there a way to troubleshoot that, or?
Got it. Chelsea, if you want to exit the Zoom call for just a minute and then come back into the Zoom call, you can.
Okay.
Mary Jane, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so it's 8:15, but I noticed just by looking at the dashboard, we have a couple people who are still working. So go ahead and take a couple more minutes to finish and then we'll keep moving. Back yet. If it's possible to maybe re-email her the link, that might be helpful.
Yeah, I'll do that. I don't see anybody in the waiting room, but yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so you just constructed a claim based on a picture, and I love this. This is not my original idea. We pulled a random picture, but I know that in the classroom, we could pull a picture from a text that we're previewing. We could pull a picture from an event that we're studying in social studies, or even really something that might illustrate a math concept that we're studying, that sort of thing. And with the question, what might this be, that really opens things up, and the sky is the limit. Students are looking at the details, they're analyzing what they see, and then again, they're constructing a claim and they're supporting it with reasoning, evidence that they see in the pictures, but it's safe because their ideas are as valid as the next person's. It's not a competition to see who can get the correct answer. It really is a chance to interact and to share ideas. So now we're going to shift to the next part of this activity, and this is where we begin to analyze the reasoning of others and critique it. And today, as we critique, we're not going to tell somebody they're wrong or what they might have missed or where their thinking needs to be corrected. We're really just going to add on to their response. And so we have to look, we have to listen, we have to start to think like our original speaker did. And we have to add to their ideas. We have to expand upon them. And so that's what you're going to do as you respond to somebody else's work. In just a minute, I'm going to let you go again, and you're going to open up the journal tab. And this time within the journal tab, you'll see everybody's responses listed in the order that they were posted. And you're just going to pick one. So you'll pick one and you're going to listen to their response. You might have to do it a couple of times. You're going to think about what was said. And then your job is to add on to what they said. So using either text comments or the voice comments, you're going to start your sentence with, in addition, or I also think. And that's the language that we're going to use today to add on to somebody else's. And so one example of this would be if I were to listen to the video that Susan submitted, I would listen to her video and then I would say, like, in addition to what Susan said, I also think that this could be happening. So I'm adding on to her ideas. So it's 8:19. We'll go ahead and take just like 3 or 4 minutes to do this. I'll try and keep an eye on where things are posted in Seesaw so I can see when you're finished. But go ahead and take some time to listen to somebody else's response and then to add on to it. Questions, I'll stick around and try and answer them. So thanks again so much for coming, everyone.
Challenge, do we have to open up the like communication activity between the students, or can it just be something like you just gave to us?
So that one you do want to open up because they're going to need to be able to see each other. Yeah.
Can you toggle that back and forth, or? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks.
Yep.